WolfPunch.
Kent missed
I'm always causing trouble.
Well, Yezin wasn't here.
Yezin wasn't here. You missed the beginning of the
catch up.
conversation. We're not trying to retread old territory. Star Wars is a hot button issue with me.
Clearly.
It's a hot button issue.
Clearly. You're
Yeah.
not very happy.
Someone's mad about it.
Yeah.
Well, let's not talk about it.
Speaking of things that should have been done with a long time ago that we keep dragging through the mud and shoving in everyone's face, let's talk about the television series Arrested Development.
Yeah, let's do it.
That's unexpected. Yeah, sure. Let's have an impromptu conversation about Arrested Development.
Yeah.
That we didn't plan to do.
Sure.
No, we're WolfPunch, by the way.
Yeah. We actually. This is so weird. Members of WolfPunch are here.
Yeah.
Yezin, I'm here.
True, you are.
And Kyle's here.
He's
and
me.
Michael's here. And Zane here. Dan's not here.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's dead.
But you know, this mic is on and happens to be recording, so let's talk about
Mike is on. What's up? How's it going?
You guys are both Mike.
Yeah, I was gonna
Let
say.
him be Michael. You're Wayne. Okay.
Michael.
Yeah.
Michael. Anyway.
References.
You guys have to just call me that the whole.
It's a
whole
callback
podcast.
to the joke.
Yeah, fuck that. You're Buster.
What? I'm Buster or Zane's Buster?
Oh, Zane's Job.
Clearly.
I'm not. I am.
Zane and I are Job. You're
No.
you're Buster.
No, I am not Buster. I am George Michael, if anybody. Come on.
I get. Anyway, we're not gonna.
We'll play Arrested Development after we.
Yeah.
Let's just do the podcast first.
So season 5 just came out.
Yeah.
yeah.
After how long was it between
5
seasons?
years.
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
You know it.
It's noticeable. Michael Sarah has aged like milk.
Yikes. You know, like 5 years is like a different stage of your life.
I don't know why. That's
You know
like
what
the
I mean?
grossest way to put that.
Yeah, it's half a decade.
Yeah.
Weird, right?
Yeah.
5 years ago, we were just getting out of college.
Yep.
We had a lot of different friends. 5 years is a long time. All I'm saying is 5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
To wait.
Actually, I feel like we still see a lot of the people that we had our party.
Yeah, I'm still looking at your ugly faces. So.
Yeah.
Not as many. Yeah, I mean some, but not as many as you'd think.
Still, it is a long time.
It is
Anyway.
a long
They
time.
brought it
In a
back.
galaxy far away.
How
Let's
you guys-
talk about Solo.
A Star Wars story.
Well, the director of Solo.
Shut up. Anyway.
Okay. So how do
Speaking
you
of Ron
guys?
Howard.
So how do you guys feel about season 5 of Arrested Development?
Right off the top of my
Well, should
head.
we talk about what this show is and like maybe our histories with it, or do you want to just go right into
Yeah,
season 5?
I think that's a good idea.
that's a
So
good idea.
I used to consider Arrested Development like tied for or up there as like one of the greatest comedies of all time.
I
Yeah.
think it still
Uh,
is.
I didn't see the first 3 seasons when they came out. I was introduced to them later on Netflix.
I don't think any of us.
Yeah,
saw
sure.
it when it came out.
And I thought it was amazing. And it was like, wow, this is such a good show. And I watched it over and over again, and especially during the summer months, I'd see it. And then, you know, they said they're going to revive Arrested Development and bring it back on Netflix. And I was excited for that. All of us, except Kemp, we actually had a big Arrested Development party.
Well, you were there, weren't you?
No.
No.
Fuck him. He wasn't there.
When season 4 came out and watched it. And, you know, I actually really liked season 4, too.
Yeah, we had a big party. We had frozen bananas.
Walker fell asleep
Walker
for most
fell
of
asleep.
the.
He woke up for lunch, came back with us, went to sleep again. You wore your cutoffs. It was.
right.
We all asked you to stop.
Anyway, point being, Arrested Development is, I think, a show that we all consider to be a very, very high quality program.
Yeah.
The comedy has like a really unique style of comedy with the narration, and it's also very timely. Especially those first 3 seasons, they came out during like the Iraq War and the Bush era, and
Sure, yeah.
there's something really like without being it not like gonna hit you over the head with it, like pop culture references, kind of like a subtle subtle mirroring of like real life.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I think that those first 3 seasons are one of the best written comedies ever. It like has no business being that good.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it's a tough act to follow. It's a real.
Even for the man who did it himself.
Yeah.
What's his name? Hurwitz something?
Yeah, what is it? Mitch? Mike?
Mitch Hurwitz. Yeah.
What a guy. But
fuck him.
Anyway, so Arrested Development essentially was canceled back in, what was it, like 2007?
2005.
2005. That was a while ago. So it was canceled. And then it was revived
in 2013.
Or it was revived and then it was released on Netflix in 2013. With pretty mixed reception. I might be the only one. I actually really like season 4.
I like season 4. I mean, it's definitely, there's a drop off between season 3 and 4, I feel like. But
kind of.
It's still enjoyable and the characters are still good. It's still better than a lot of things that are on TV.
Right. I think season 4 got a lot of mixed reactions because it really messed with the format and it tried to acknowledge the fact that it had been 8 years or so, and actually, or not 8.
But without time skipping.
Yeah, no, 8 years.
Yeah, that was that's what really drug it down.
I thought it was charming.
I mean, but like, okay, like Portia wearing the wig to like match her hair in season 3, like the wigs were bad. The fucking green screen was awful in the show.
They didn't use that much of it. There was a few scenes, but like it wasn't there like all the time.
Like when they would the fucking the trial or whatever, where Lucille too was like that looked superimposed into it, looked awful. Right. Oh my god, it was so bad. And it's like I guess I would have just thought, like, because when this was released, this House of Cards and something else were the 3 big TV shows that
Orange is the New Black.
I think that's what it was. Were the 3 big TV shows that Netflix was like kind of launching their own material with, or whatever. And you would think that they would have put more money behind that kind of stuff to make it a higher quality, I guess. Just because you knew so many people were going to be watching it, and you knew so many people were excited for it, that it just looked so cheap.
Okay, well, without getting bogged down in minutia, I think it's time to get to season 5 a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
Not that that's not important, just that like.
No, because that same stuff plagues this.
Yeah. Okay.
Hard.
Sure. So, general impressions on season 5.
Most comparable to season 4.
Yeah, and just like, I mean, it was, I guess my problem with it, and it's more of, I think I'm the problem with it as well. Like, the show, it has been built up in so many people's minds as, like we were just saying, one of the smartest comedies ever on TV, and it still is smart. Like, it's still crazy connected through all these like weird jokes that take forever to like pay off and stuff. Especially in season 4, you'd see the setup for a joke and you wouldn't see the punchline for 10 episodes. Or whatever.
I really like that, but anyway, let's go.
Wait, that's not what I'm complaining about. Well, what I'm complaining about is that my hopes were so high for the show that the new format kind of like threw me for a loop, and I didn't like it as much as I thought I would.
Season 4 or season 5?
Season 4.
Okay.
So then season 5, when it got back to the format, I'm saying that with air quotes because it still doesn't feel like the original series. It feels insanely disconnected still because the characters aren't all together every single episode still. Like, and I get it, everybody's got different timing schedules and shit, and I get that. But it's, I don't know, it's so easy to tell in this season when actors are actually with the other actor and when they're not, because you can tell, like, just from the back of their head when they're shooting an over the shoulder shot that's not Jeffrey Tambor, or that's, and I mean,
see, I didn't notice that.
Really? Are you serious?
I didn't either.
Holy shit!
I wasn't really watching.
No, I've noticed.
Thank you. Okay.
I mean, maybe if you point it out to me, but like when I was watching it, the only thing that I noticed, that looked bad was like the house exterior. I was like, that
oh my god, yeah, like but
other than
outside on the fucking patio, like their deck that. when George Senior's like sitting up on the like banister, and it's like that is some shitty.
When they're in fucking Ron Howard's office, and like they're standing against the like glass wall or like the windows and shit. It was so bad. It just looked so low budget. Like it looked like a fan made version with the real actors.
I mean, like those aren't the things that I really like.
Like Ron Howard had to do some community service, be a part of somebody's fan fiction.
I hear you, but those aren't really the things that like.
The show is not about the quality of
no,
right? That's not really what I.
I get that it's not, but it takes me out of the show when I see shit like that in any show. That's not just this one.
I mean, that's not.
I'm not coming at this show just specifically for that, but I guess I'm kind of coming at Netflix for not like bumping up the production quality.
Here's a question though, like because I mentioned like they kind of comment on pop culture and they're self-aware of like, oh, we've all aged, but we're not time jumping. Like, could the bad effects be like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge? Like we don't care.
I think
like purposeful.
90% of the budget was going towards getting those actors back. So
yeah.
Well,
And I think that's probably the case too. Because if you think back when it was on TV,
so many of them have become much bigger stars.
Yeah. And
okay, I mean, like, I think for me, the reason I brought up season 4 actually, and the reason why I brought up liking season 4 is that I actually think that the thing that really bogs down season 5 is actually the time jump. There's something about television, and when I say the time jump, I mean the real life. The real life time jump.
Yeah, because it takes place right after the last scene.
And I can't say necessarily the lack of a time jump in the show, because it would be weird actually to do, because the season 4 was one big time jump, and then doing another time jump after season 4, it gets redundant. You can't do that. But the problem is the actual duration of time, the 5 years, actually kind of messes with your enjoyment of the show. Not just in that you have to wait a long time.
They should never have brought this show back if they weren't going to commit to doing
at least
exactly.
like 2 seasons.
That's what I'm saying. Like when you think of a revival, it's like, revive it and then do something substantial. Either complete the show, or do a couple do some seasons. Like
I mean, a show like Venture Bros can do that, where they can go on hiatus every like few years because it's like it's animated.
Yeah,
it doesn't like
no one's aging in that.
It doesn't jar you. You know.
Yeah.
Well,
like, but even that, like, there are some issues with.
Oh, for sure.
But just because, first of all, there's a certain
stay less invested.
There's a momentum to these things, also, and I think with Arrested Development, you really see it's the momentum that's gone. The thing that worked for me about season 4 is that it was a revival, so there was kind of like a burst of new energy for this show, and you watch it all in one sitting, and it's like its own experience. And again, mixed reviews, but. Then you get back to like, and there's going to be more next year. And then you're a year out, and then there's nothing. And then you come back to it, and...
You're fatter and older and angrier. You're like, I don't care anymore.
But, like, it just...
You drank.
The momentum is gone, and it brings back
much.
this question of, like, why do you even want more of this? You know what I mean? Like, it makes me think, like, why did I want more of this to begin with? Because, like, it's not... There's no story. You know what I mean? Like Arrested Development, kind of like you drop off and you think, oh well, they're going to continue season 4, but they actually don't. The main, like Lindsay's main story arc in season 4 is about realizing that she's a Bluth, and then because Portia doesn't want to act anymore, they nix that story immediately, and it seems like all of their stories and all of their content is beholden to the fact that they can't get these actors back.
Yeah. I also think that like the first few episodes of this season just feel like they're trying to undo like what they did with season 4 and like what nobody liked about it.
Like George Michael becoming George Michael again, and not growing as like because in season 4 he like grows up and he changes and he like quote unquote becomes a man or whatever, right? And then there's the whole scene where which I actually thought was pretty funny, where he goes back to the model home and he's like in total regression,
Yeah.
or whatever. And I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah,
It was
George
like
Michael is actually one of the best parts of season 5.
exactly, yeah.
Oh, he's my
it is
favorite
funny.
One of the best parts of season 4.
But it's
him and Maggie are the best.
But
parts.
that is like a point, or I feel like that illustrates your point about like, or what you were just saying about that.
Basically, they don't have an idea. They don't have a trajectory. They don't have a story they're going for, and the story that they end up going for when they after the revival is just, well, what can we do with these actors? Well, Lindsay's got to go because she doesn't want to do this. So what can we do with her in a few episodes? And so because she's not there, like, what can we do with Tobias without Lindsay? And so it doesn't.
Tobias felt shoehorned in this season. Like, I did not like.
But I mean, I think that was part of the joke. Is
Yes.
since his wife isn't there, he's desperately trying to be a part of this family.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
meta isn't always
Yeah, it
funny.
didn't work.
Doesn't always
Yeah.
work. I think
Even in Community, which is like the king of meta comedies, like sometimes it didn't work in that.
sometimes, but I mean, Community has a better track record. I think.
Yeah, no,
Community
for
at
sure.
season 4.
Community has season 4, but okay, I'll put it this way: I'm not really a television guy. I used to be when I was in school and you would have like big breaks and like I lived in the middle of nowhere, so I would binge watch TV shows. But it's like now I'm older and I don't commit a lot of time to watching shows, and the only things that I really watch are like comedies. I'll watch like a half-hour comedy when I come home and unwind for the day because I don't really care about them that much. I don't get that invested. It's just something comfortable to put on. And I think that's part of the problem for me with Arrested Development is this was a show that I watched in the height of like I was binge watching stuff like Mad Men or Breaking Bad and like Deadwood and like just binge watching TV shows and really enjoying them. And Arrested Development is a show that I've never stopped watching. I watch it like once a summer. I'll just put that on of like, oh, this is going to be the next fun thing for me to watch at the end of the day when I get home from work and before I go to bed. Because it's just easy breezy. But because those first 3 seasons are so good, and then you get to like season 4 where it's like, okay, here's a revival, and we're going to do this. It's designed to be binge watched, and it's going to be character centered. Like each character is the main character of an individual issue, and it's going to create a bigger story. And I'm like, I don't know if this show is worth that effort, really. I think that part of what made those first 3 seasons succeed and why I say it's like one of the best written shows is because it doesn't really flaunt that, for one. You have like, you were talking about how in these newer seasons you have setups for a joke and then it's not paid off until a few episodes down the road.
Yeah.
The early seasons definitely had that, but it wasn't always, you weren't always aware. Like,
Exactly.
Like one of my favorite ones is the Heather Graham episode where like she's like, they're trying to impress her by George Michael makes a collage of Saddam Hussein
yeah.
because she loves Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
And Michael is like, I swear to God, that's our same like outdoor fireplace or whatever.
Yeah.
And you have no idea that that's going to pay off in a huge
Exactly.
way by the end of the fucking 3rd season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a fun
Or
little
all
joke.
of Buster's like hand jokes.
All of
and
Buster's
stuff.
hand jokes.
You never.
You have no idea. Because like that one where he's like, I thought I never knew I'd miss a hand so much.
Yeah.
There's a payoff for that joke right in that because that's
Yeah.
his hand chair.
Yeah.
And then he loses his hand. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, it's got almost a Game of Thrones equality to it. Sorry. Anyway, I don't disagree with those things.
Well, I'm not done.
No, okay. I mean, just okay. Go on.
Part of the other thing about that show from like when I first watched it, I didn't watch it when it was on television, but I was aware of when it came out. And you start watching it, and I was aware of like what network it was on, and like it has actors where you're like, oh, Jason Bateman, the guy who we know now as like the star of Game Night or Office Christmas Party, and you're watching the show, and I can't say that you expect too much, but then it had a really bold, weird sense of humor for its network and time period that like wasn't really pandering to anyone. It wasn't really marketed for like you have this guy who's a never nude and he can't be without his cut off jean shorts because he can never be naked, and you're like, what the hell is this? This is so goofy but so funny. Or like, here's this rich family, and his older brother is a screw up magician who tries to break into prison so he can break out of prison and also to get away from his relationships. It's so weird.
No, it's. I mean,
now it's like when you watch the show and it comes back, it feels like it's working so hard to be intricate, to have like setups to things. It feels like it's trying so hard to like keep that same relevance and that same awkward humor of like, now I watch Tobias walk into a room in a real To Catch a Predator situation dressed as the Thing. Now, granted, that's a funny scene.
Hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not as rewarding of a payoff of like, and then you're going to see why he was wearing this Thing costume. It's like, I don't care that much.
I see what you're saying. You're basically making an argument that like the show was effortless, and then after it was revived, you could feel there's a lot of work, and not that's not just work on the part of the production, work on the part of the viewer. Like you feel like it's it's more of an investment for you, and I understand that, and that's okay. But for me, like I don't mind putting in work. Like I actually enjoy that.
I don't think watching TV is ever work.
I don't mean like that. You know what I mean? Like not work, but just I don't mind like really paying attention and like watching something meticulous and watching something like really layered and trying to like piece it together. I think that's kind of fun. I know that wasn't as much an element of the first 3 seasons, but I don't mind it in the 4th season. The thing about the 5th season, I think, is that there isn't any. It's shallow. Like there's no work to put you. If you can't put in work, and it's not effortless. Like you're really watching, and you're like kind of just like waiting for it to be entertaining.
Yeah. I would agree, but I also have to admit, there wasn't much. I watched it all this weekend, and there weren't too many points over the weekend with which I was sober. So like some of it, I might not have had my faculties, and 2, I knew that I had to watch it, so I think it might have already had like a preset chore vibe to me, where it was like, I probably wouldn't be binging all of this right now if I didn't have to be.
That's fair, because you're talking a lot about the chore aspect, and it's there, but it's not.
I was excited to watch it.
I was too. I breezed through it.
Yeah, I'm only and it did go by faster than I expected, but I'm only speaking for myself because I know I didn't even realize that it had come out, and you two, Zane and Michael, were both like, "Yeah, I'm almost done."
Well, it was a happy accident for me because I was like,
I bet it was.
I was watching Scott Pilgrim.
It's a jizz joke.
Yeah.
And then you were like, "What else is Michael Cera up to?"
Yeah.
I could cream again.
Yeah, exactly. So I was watching Scott Pilgrim. I was like, let me watch Arrested Development. And then Zane's like, hey, a new season's coming out. And I was like, really? So then I was like real excited. So I binged the whole original series and watched this. And I mean, I feel like I do agree with a lot of what everyone's saying. But I definitely do want to say that I think they took a lot of the criticisms from the last season and really fixed a lot of problems that were going on, at least with pacing.
Definitely in pacing.
But I do agree, like, with the shallow aspect. Like, there weren't as many funny jokes. I think the only, like, storyline that I was really engaged with was Maybe's, like, living in the old folks' home. Like, that was, like, kind of that goofiness. No, okay, you guys are making faces. I thought that was goofy. I liked it.
I thought you were going to say George Michael.
I liked George Michael a lot, too.
George Michael is kind of the George Michael and Michael are the characters that are always kind of winners for me. Mm-hmm. Like I always really enjoy what they're doing, and we're talking a lot of shit. There are good things about season 5. George Michael calling his dad his Darth at one point.
Oh yeah, that was super funny.
Is really good. I think that Michael Cera and Jason Bateman still really work.
Yeah.
And I think there are moments where you remember like, oh, this is actually like a really funny show. It's just that they're flashes of something that once was.
Yeah. Definitely.
And what's weird is that this like Arrested Development, the first 3 seasons were really of their time, and this time actually feels like it should be really good for Arrested Development, because like when I say it was of its time, it's like the Bluths are kind of reminiscent of the Bushes,
Yeah.
Like they have like a weird, very powerful, very wealthy family that are all like buffoons, and it kind of reminds you of like George Bush and like that era, and that actually they should transition really well into the Trump thing because again, it's true they did have the wall idea, and they do have like a lot of the Trump vibe to them. It just seems like they didn't have that. It seems like they were apprehensive to go too far into that territory just because they know that everyone is doing the Trump thing right now.
Yeah, I don't blame them for being apprehensive.
If you're going to do the same thing that everyone else is doing, then you've got to be really good at it.
But again, one problem with that is that like Portia's character is like the perfect like Ivanka almost, and again she doesn't want to act, and they ended last season with her running for office on Build the Wall, and this was before Donald Trump. Like they had like a perfect opportunity to just satirize Trump, but then they didn't go for it because
touched on it, and that was like my least favorite
the moments that they do are like kind of embarrassing. You're like, oh, this isn't good.
It's like I think they knew how challenging it was to come up with new material for that thing, or for that subject. Although I will say that there's a very good moment where Lucille is watching Trump make his speech, and he's like, "I'm gonna build a wall between us and Mexico." And Lucille's like, "That was my idea."
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna make Mexico pay for it. Just like. That is a twist. I thought it's like
that was good. Yeah.
That's the stuff that makes me think that Arrested Development is like actually a really like of its time show.
Yeah.
And that's actually kind of one weakness I think of the fact that they waited 5 years since last season. Like doing Arrested Development right when Trump was happening and this was fresh would have been like it would have given them much more opportunity to like come in hot on a lot of this. And again, that doesn't mean be like an obvious heavy-handed like political metaphor, but kind of address it in the same way they addressed 2003 with the Iraq War. Like they had an opportunity to do that, but again, they waited 5 years. So it's 2018 and we're doing a show about 2014 and 2015. Like there isn't a lot of logic to that.
Yeah. Like all the parts that tried to satirize like current politics like fell flat to me, other than that one joke.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like,
I mean, there was sort of an element of like maybe is the campaign manager and she's trying to make Lindsay unlikable.
I didn't think that was funny.
Yeah, not at all.
It wasn't funny.
Yeah.
Or even like you can tell that's kind of talking about Trump, but it's.
Oh no! I thought that was so blatant. Like when she's mocking the reporter.
Right. It's like you. Oh yeah. You can tell it's talking about Trump, but like they don't. It's like they don't have the confidence to go all in with it because they don't know what to do. It just feels like a reference that like everyone has made.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely true.
And so that's a lot of the vibe I get from the entire season is that. All of these jokes got stale over time. Like even the part where they're talking about like the culture war that ended years ago. If you remember when the gay protesters and the anti-gay protesters came out.
That's
like
right.
A culture war that ended and they say it ended years ago, but again, the whole shtick of the Christian magician versus the gay magician, that was funnier in 2013.
That's what I was going to ask how you guys felt about the Job stuff. Because I actually didn't mind it in season 4, but in this season...
Oh, it felt so
weird. It was really weird.
Also the fact that okay, clearly, I know I keep harping on this, but when Ben Stiller like shows up for the whole like closet switching thing, you can tell so easily that they're not on the same stage. Are you blind? Do you not have fucking eyes? Are you fucking blind? Because good lord, dude.
I was lost in the moment.
Wow!
What was
it? Was so
boring. The moment. Yeah, there was nothing there.
Aside from it being boring, and
aside from them not being in the same place, like
it just I mean, I couldn't. No part of it was interesting to me because when they were filming together, like Job and
Ben Stiller.
Like when they were together on screen and they were doing the same joke or whatever, like it was funny. Like that was a really funny part of Job's whole thing. Like, and it was more of like the thing of him thinking he was gay, but really it was just like
Friendship.
he found a friend, like, and he didn't know what that was. It was funny.
Yeah, that was
like,
and that was also like a long recurring thing with Job as a character.
yeah.
Of like not knowing how to have friends.
Exactly.
Anytime him and Michael would bond, he would instantly ruin it.
Yeah.
Or, like they had to pay the private detective and the bounty hunter to be his friend for the weekend.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
in this season, like they abandoned, like because like you said, like he didn't know what a friend was, and that was the joke. But in this season, it's just like, oh no, Job's gay. Like they forgot that
I mean,
was the joke.
that's fine. It's
no,
just,
that's fine. But like,
I mean, one, you can't get Ben Stiller back for very much. So like the whole like revenge plot line that was going with like the Sitwells and stuff.
We could already tell, I think, early in the season who's going to be there and who's not going to be there. Like after a while, like Portia's not doing this, and you know after a while, like Marky Bark's not coming, and you know that and once you see Ben Stiller, like you hear his voice, but you just get a shot of a suitcase. You're like, they can only get a recording of this.
Yeah, well, even that aside.
And so then you know that scene is just going to be a short thing, and then, like, spoiler alert, the cement's going to fall, it's going to end.
Yeah. Well, I wish, here's the thing, I wish that wouldn't have happened. I wish he would have just flown away in a suitcase, and that was it. Like, I thought that little shtick of, like, him fitting in the suitcase or whatever, obviously you'd never get through security in the airport, but whatever. But, like, him being in that, I thought was like, okay. Like,
that's
haha, chuckle. Like, anybody walking by saying the word wonder, you know that he's going to, like, want to burst out of the fucking suitcase or whatever. So, I don't know. I mean, there are so many things, like, I mean, and we've talked about this too, that they set up in the last season that they just completely kill off this season just because they don't have access to people.
Yeah,
and it's a bummer.
Like doing the thing of like Joe being gay, that could work.
It could work.
The problem is if you're not doing an actual storyline with it, then you're watching a character that was already funny in his own regard with his own shtick. Mm-hmm. Kind of has a new one now where he can't accept his sexuality.
Sure.
And that's been done funnier on other shows. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia nails it. Super funny.
Oh, yeah.
But it's
hilarious.
been done funnier on this show. Just with Tobias.
Oh, that's right.
Just
that's
saying like things that he has no idea how it comes off. Like, so I don't know. Like I don't have a problem with what they set up in season 4. It's just if you can't commit to doing a show, don't revive it.
Yeah.
If you can't actually bring it back, too much time has passed.
Here's the other thing.
Well, before you get to another thing, guys, just on Job, like, I do think that like some of the beard stuff, like
beard, that was funny.
When he had like the what's your face what's your face was like his beard.
Because of John Beard.
Yes.
Like I think some of that was funny.
That felt like old Arrested Development.
Sure,
where it was like there's a setup for a joke seasons before that was funny in its own right, and then you had no idea it was going to play back in.
Sure, yeah.
But I agree. Like the show has already done this shtick with Tobias, and it seems like they didn't know where they were going with it. Because like again, they do. I mean, Job has sex with a man at the end of season 4, so you have to do something with that. You can't just be like, oh no, it was just friendship. Like no, they had sex with each other. Like, that's a thing. But but just before you, I think that the problem is that first of all, I don't think they knew what they were doing with that. I don't think they knew that they could get Ben Stiller for an extended, weird, romantic subplot.
Yeah,
and they've already done with Tobias. And again, the thing is, too much time has passed, and other shows have done this shtick better than them. Think 5 years. 5 years ago, like Mac from It's Always Sunny was just beginning to like the joke that Mac from It's Always Sunny was gay was just kind of starting up.
Yeah.
And so they.
And then by the last season, you have the Ass Blaster 5000.
That actually comes out.
Yeah, where a man has a bike where a dildo comes out of the seat when you pedal, and he's trying to explain that that's so he doesn't sit down, so that he can get a better workout and be buffer.
Again,
that is so funny.
It's a different kind of joke.
Yeah.
But there's something about time and context that really, really just nails this show, is that people have now done that shtick, and Arrested Development did it, and It's Always Sunny did it over the course of 5 years so much better that, like, trying to, like, do 8 episodes of Job pretending not to be gay while trying to, like, see Tony Wonder again. It's like, you know, Job already had a shtick.
Job already had one of the best shticks. Like, I mean, so much Job humor in earlier seasons is, like, just bizarrely funny.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
Like a fucking, like, they even scrapped some of them from, like, season 1, where he's got, like, the League of Magicians, and he's, like, desperately trying to get back in, and that's pretty much just, like, a one-season
And also, you know,
thing.
and also Job's, like, weird obsession.
Father-son relationship.
Exactly. His weird obsession with trying to
Impress his dad.
while
father.
neglecting his own son.
Like, again, and they scrapped that too.
Yeah, and that's a shame because, like, father-son relationships are like a huge carryover in this show.
Yeah.
So and which is weird. They have Steve Holt. That actor is not doing shit. They could have done more with that, but instead
They, like, abandoned him.
They just get this new guy to be Tobias's bastard.
Which
Yeah.
was so weird.
Oh, that was
what
so
was that?
stupid.
Yeah.
And I like John Mooney.
Yeah.
Or, is that his name right?
Kyle Mooney.
Kyle Mooney, yeah. Kyle Mooney. But he's not good in this. Not at all.
It's not that he wasn't even good.
He's
It's
pointless.
It's just like it was such a weird decision.
I do like the bit where they, like, try to kick him out of the family, where he's like, who's the boy? Am I the boy? I've never heard a man say that. Me neither. And then George Sr. says something like, get me a Fanta on your way out of the family or something. Like, it was really funny, but...
I mean that was the overall shtick. Like
Yeah.
that scene was funny, but, like, the overall shtick of, like, oh, Tobias is gonna have, like, a son hanging out with him. Like, what is that? Like, Tobias already had a thing. Like, do the thing where Tobias tries to be other people in the family. That
was funny. And
That
again,
was good. I
Tobias
wish
was
he would've
another
done
character who already had, like, a bunch of great different shticks, where he's a psychiatrist trying to become an actor. He's, like, clearly gay but doesn't know it. And he is a horrible father.
Yeah.
He's just so neglects his daughter. And it's like...
But then in this, there's like, oh, well, he has a son that he's actually not that bad to.
Yeah, he's just trying to make him an actor with him.
Which is the exact same shtick they did with Debris.
Yeah.
like,
Which she randomly comes back to, and I'm just like, why?
like say what you will about season 4, but at least I feel like it had an aim and a goal for the characters.
Sure.
And this did not.
Well, okay, hold
it
on.
undid all their goals that they set up.
Sure.
And then they, like, didn't know what to do.
Yes, it did. It did do that. But because it was only released like half of the season, it's hard for us to, like, really
true.
like go
Yeah,
in on
I
this
forgot
that much
that.
because we don't know where it's going yet. But
You're 100% right. But I do want to say we can still fault it because, again, a big part of this show's problem is the releasing of it.
yeah,
To go from, like, 2005 to then 2013 and do, like, a full season that is designed specifically to be watched all in one sitting as
Sure.
much as you can.
Yeah.
And then to wait
And
5
also
years.
it's designed to account for the time skip.
And to account for the time skip. And then to wait 5 years to do a season that is supposed to take place right after and to split that season in half.
it's just it's a very weird decision.
It's like they don't want to succeed. Or something. It's like now we understand why they haven't put much money into this.
yeah. Well, okay, that's true. That's
Well,
true.
Ron Howard must have cut a deal to get like a movie onto Netflix right away or something. And
I
that's
mean,
why he
Yeah,
showed
it's
up.
called
Do they even-
Solo.
do they even-
Let's talk about it.
Do they even know when they're going to release the second part? Because
They haven't announced it.
to
at
me,
least.
my thought, this is really the only justification for releasing in 2 parts, is that they were seeing how it was going to be received, and that they shot 2 endings to the next part, and that one ending is gonna, and that if it's not well received, one of the endings is gonna just
Wrap up the show,
and the other ending sets up for more.
I feel like they're probably just going to wrap it up.
I hope
they do because.
Hope they do.
But here's the thing: is they already kind of did one time before, and I just like.
In hindsight, the end of season 3,
when they sail off into the sunset, end of the show. That's a fine.
Don't get me wrong.
It's very sudden.
There were elements of like the original season 3 finale where I was like, oh well, this ends kind of bad for like Lucille and Job and stuff, and I like these characters, but then I'm also like, but they're also horrible people.
They're also horrible people, but they do. Hold on, real quick. You made a comment about how like it's sudden and it ends sudden, but they keep making jokes about how like HBO or Stars or somebody might pick them up, and that is way funnier than like anything that was in this 5th season. Like that contextual like moment in time of them like basically pleading
when they're trying
with
to get
people to get.
That was a good episode.
Also,
like that's good.
Also, like just the idea of like George Senior, Michael, and George Michael riding off on the ship into the sunset. There's something really like fun about that, where like Michael is the main character of the show, and 2 of his biggest relationships are him with his son and him with his father. And there are big parallels of like father-son relationships throughout the show, and mother-daughter and mother-son relationships too. But I mean,
mother-boy,
and who doesn't love Operation Hot Mother? Right?
Oh man, good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I see your point. I don't know if so much that I think that's a great ending. It's better than any other ending they've done. I'll say that.
It's gonna be. I would assume.
You about to do an Indiana Jones reference?
What?
Were you?
What?
I thought you were gonna say like how at the end of the Last Crusade they ride off into the sunset, and then you watch The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, aka Arrested Development season 4.
I was not going to go down that route,
neither.
but you almost kind of read my mind.
Yeah.
Not really.
If you had thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. If I had a brain. So speaking of the Wizard of Oz, no, I'm just kidding. Anyway, what were you going to say, Ilza?
Oh, I don't know.
I think I broke the room. I'm just thinking about
it. You did. I don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah, you're taking my hair for a lot, but that's normal for you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think there's something with streaming services that like it's a good addition to like the way we watch television in some ways, but in other ways it kind of results in instances where they'll do a season of a show, do a cliffhanger at the end of it because they want to like get people invested to watch the next season because they need some way to get people to want to watch the next season. But then they'll be so all about getting a good cliffhanger that they won't know where it's actually going next. I mean, like, I don't know why the fuck I watched this, but I watched The Path. I've been watching it for like 3 years.
Don't even know that. I've never heard of it.
It's a show starring Aaron Paul and Michelle Monaghan, and they're in a cult. Anyway. Point is,
sounds riveting.
It starts off. The first season's pretty good, and then every other season gets real bad. It's real bad now. Anyway, the reason I'm bringing it up is that like at the end of the first season of The Path, there's like a big cliffhanger where I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe that's happening. What are they gonna do with that? And then the next season's like they just spoilers for The Path, and then just kind of like no, get rid of that. They just kind of undo, and then that cliffhanger, and then season 2 like. Same thing. There's like a huge cliffhanger, and then they set something up, and then they're like, "No, we're just gonna get this out of the way real quick." And it feels like that's just something that comes with streaming, where Arrested Development, the cliffhanger at the end of season 4 also has like kind of a quality of like, "Oh shit, George Michael just punched Michael. What's gonna happen now?" And then it's like.
They don't get to that until like what, episode 3?
Yeah, I want to say episode
4
3 or 2.
Actually, I disagree. I think they get to that immediately and then they resolve it too quickly.
Well, yeah,
I thought that was going to be the big conflict.
That's the thing that you're like excited to. That's where you're like, oh, they've got to do a season 5 because if that's the end of Arrested Development, you're like, what?
Yeah,
you gotta see.
Well, when it ended on that, that's what I said. I was
exactly.
Like,
that's what I'm saying. It's like that's a story arc. It's an important story arc. Sure. Like, because that's the anchor. There's a lot of relationships in Arrested Development, but like the central anchoring relationship is between Michael and his son. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so season 4 is the first time. The end of season 4 is the first time ever that relationship is like kind of really broken, or not. I don't want to say broken, but it's strained. It's really strained in like a very powerful way. And then they're like, "This is a big moment." No, it's not.
See, like Michael and George Michael are like, to me, they're the heart of the show, and like I always enjoyed watching them season to season. And from season 4 and season 5, I keep going back and forth on like how I feel like with the time jump, because when George Michael's little, like there's a really nice like warm father-son aspect to it. But now that Michael Cera's older, like so there's like a fan theory that someone told me about. I think it was you.
Oh, Christ, that doesn't sound like me.
Is it the...
I don't know, that like maybe George Michael...
It was me.
It was you. That George Michael is George Sr.'s kid.
Yeah.
I don't want them to...
They kept making references.
And like...
So they're not doing it.
It's just the even if they like the idea of that happening, like I was thinking about it at first and I was like, oh, like Michael Cera, like that, a young kid finding out that like your dad isn't your dad and your grandpa is, like that'd be a harrowing experience. But then like I look at Michael Cera now and I'm like, so like he's an adult now.
It'd
like
still be a big deal.
It would be a big deal, but it wouldn't be as big of a deal.
It hasn't stopped Jack Nicholson. Am I right?
Like things like that. Like there's a lot. I don't
talk about Chinatown.
I don't get this.
No, his he was raised by his grandparents, and he was told that they were his parents.
Oh,
fine.
I mean, that's a different situation.
Well, Michael Cera is the Jack Nicholson of his generation. So.
Said no one just now. WolfPunch breaking new ground.
But I see what you mean. Like,
yeah, like
now that he's older, certain revelations and certain things don't affect him as much. But I do think that, like, you know, as a man or as a guy grows up, like their relationship with their dad changes. And so there is something to be explored there.
And I think they are doing interesting things in the newer seasons. Like their storylines are some of the more interesting parts of the newer seasons, but I still like it's not as good.
I see what you mean. Like there's something about it's like they can't keep track of the aging and they can't create stories for the actors based on...
Well, like, the original show used to take a lot of sort of, like, sitcom templates and, like, do something really weird with them. Where it's like, if you're doing a show about a father-son relationship and he's a single father and he's very busy and everything, of course there's going to be the storyline where his son starts dating and he doesn't know how he feels about it. Except this show does it in, like, the funniest way ever, where, like, his girlfriend is so plain and weird, and he can't stand her, and he can't even remember her name, and he'll call her, like, Ann Hog or Egg, and it's just, like, really weird humor that makes it so funny.
She hasn't been in any of this.
Come back.
And didn't come back. And what would be the point? Because... Fuck it.
Her?
Forget
her?
No.
But you guys didn't even notice.
That's actually really funny.
Photo not available right under her high school picture.
That's amazing.
She was actually in it a whole lot. So shows what you know.
Yeah, it's so weird that Egg wasn't even in it, and we didn't notice.
I don't know.
Ann is the nose on Plain's face.
That's right. I just like, I don't know. I wanted to like this so much, and I didn't really care for it. Same.
No, Zane.
Anyway, I wanted to like it so bad, but I feel like, I don't know. I mean, it's the same thing we were just talking about with fucking Star Wars.
We were talking
before this. It's because people just like fucking want to just consume all they want. They're, you know, people like clamoring for more fucking Arrested Development episodes. Like, do you need it?
No.
You don't.
Well, it's a tale as old as time. Whenever hipster millennial kids hear of the TV shows that they didn't watch when they were on, and they're
Boy
like,
Meets World.
but how could fucking Firefly get canceled?
Yeah, let's bring it back.
And it's like, well, part of the reason is because you never watched it and you didn't hear about it until years later. And it's totally understandable to be like, oh, it would be great if there were more of that, or now that it has an audience, you bring it back. But it doesn't always work. Some might say it almost never does.
Like Roseanne.
Oh boy.
Talk about a show built for a different time period.
That's
But
right.
you know, like that's actually a really good point. Like, let's talk about that for a second.
I'm not going to talk about Roseanne.
No,
but I'm
not
just
Roseanne. We're not going to talk about her tweet or whatever.
Sure.
I just mean like
I never watched either show, so I have no frame of reference.
I didn't either. But there really is something to the idea of like, and I think you were talking about.
I was talking about it the other day.
It's like back in the day, like Roseanne was the show about like
This is the like sassy woman in like the trashy family.
Yeah, the sassy
where you're
working-
They weren't the Huxtables.
Yeah,
they were the
it's like-
Fuxtables.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
It's like here's
that just sounds like a porn.
yeah. That was Zane's pitch for Roseanne, and they were like, "Who's this 7-year-old boy whose parents need to be watching it?"
And the thing is like. Even not to get too much into politics, but even politically, though, Roseanne was actually like pretty like populist. Like she was kind of left leaning for what she, and that was cool because it's like she just culturally she embodied like that
Every woman.
that working class like white every woman.
Yeah.
And that was like a thing, and that was cool for its time. And like you bring it back like now,
And it just seems insanely racist.
and it
Like,
just seems
bad.
super racist
I
to
mean,
like half the country.
Yeah,
and
it's an extremely different political environment.
Yeah. They clearly did not read the room.
Yeah, and it's like, well, I mean, not only is it just
in their own way, they read the room just not well enough.
Well, they read the room from Fox News' point of view.
Sure. Well, I feel like TV in general used to be more moderate. All right, and like it isn't as much now, but neither is like partisan politics. Especially the right is like ultra right.
Yeah.
And Roseanne herself is like we wouldn't call her progressive.
I've actually been reading about this. Like Roseanne's crazy. Like she's jumped. She ran.
Yeah.
Do you guys know she ran for president once?
No.
She ran for president.
She sang the national anthem and then grabbed her crotch.
Hell yeah.
afterwards.
She's like all over the political spectrum. Anyway,
Yeah.
The point is that like
No one wants her on their team.
the point is like the revival doesn't work because not only has like Roseanne aged and gone crazy, but the time in which it worked was another time.
Exactly.
Sure.
Like you were talking about the like Bush administration
Yeah.
and everything. Like it made sense because they were making fun of that family a little bit.
Yeah.
And now
just the time period in general, like they think that they found weapons of mass destruction.
Exactly.
And it's balls.
Right.
Like,
It's sort of making fun of some of like the buffoonery of that time.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing is, I don't think that opportunity is gone. I just think that they're behind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
for sure.
Yeah.
The opportunity to like make fun of the time is always there. And I hate to keep bringing it up. It's Always Sunny is doing it.
yeah.
Like and other shows too, but It's Always Sunny. Like they have an episode in this past season where like Boko Haram starts drinking Wolf.
Oh yeah.
And so they start playing kind of like
Damage control.
damage control, and then they kind of have like a weird Trump family vibe, but. Like they get it right because they get ahead. They're not too obvious. They don't just do like, oh, remember the time Trump made fun of the reporter? Dennis is gonna make fun of the reporter.
Like,
It's not
kind of the same way that Parks was going towards the end of like something would happen and it just like happened to be
right. Like remember Obama's birth certificate? Here's Leslie's birth certificate.
Yeah.
Parks and Rec, its strength was never its satire, really.
No.
But I mean, like, and that's part of the point is like any show can be funny. Like I can't just say, oh well, it's too easy to make fun of Trump because it's pretty easy and common to make fun of Bush, somebody that belongs more in a bowling alley than the White House. But it's like, yeah, if you're not ahead of it or at least present with it, or ultimately at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, is this joke funny or do we just know that people will get it?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's not ever been what Arrested Development has been about, because it's told jokes where you watch and you're like, I don't know who the demographic is for this, but that's super funny. That this guy is so in love with his mother, and that's super weird and creepy, but it's really funny.
Yeah. Or all the weird tiptoeing the incest line.
Tiptoeing the incest.
Yeah. Oh,
even
so
just
much.
Buster just losing a hand and that being so foreshadowed, and it's like, oh man, they knew they were going to do that.
Yeah.
And why? Why was that such a planned out thing?
So real quick, when season 4 was coming out, I remember them talking about it before it was going to come out, and I saw this video of Mitch Hurwitz showing the writer's room and everything, and there was different colored yarn connecting all these different cards that were pinned up on the wall to keep the storyline straight and everything.
Yeah.
And each line of yarn represented a different character and how it was interconnected to this character and blah 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 blah, all this shit. So Yezin was talking about how it just didn't seem like they had a plan or anything, and you would think that somebody that went through that serial killer amount of fucking work to map all this shit together would come to season 5 with no fucking plan.
Again, like you said earlier, Zane said earlier, it might be too early for us to say that. But right now, it does seem that way. The big twist, or maybe the big twist of season 5 is that picture of Lucille Ostero and Oscar Bluth, that was me and maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Cool,
dude.
And then you flash back to all the setup for that, and you're like, this wasn't good.
Yeah.
Or, the big moment of Oscar springs Buster, and you're like, who fucking shit?
Again, it's different because with that, it's oh, good, because it's that Michael's not actually in trouble because he didn't know that.
Yeah.
When he said it, and so he can just come clean, or he can not come clean and just say, "Oh, I didn't know that."
Yeah.
He's not going to get arrested for that. It's not the same. It's it just so. And then when Oscar busts out Buster, Buster. Maybe they planned
He makes
that.
a joke.
Yeah, that joke is in the show.
They're going to give me a nickname. Oh, Buster. It's actually kind of funny.
Yeah, that was funny.
I didn't catch that.
It went over some people's heads.
Obviously.
I guess. Anyway, it doesn't feel. And I know that Arrested Development season 1 doesn't feel super but the way things happen is really funny. When George Sr. Gets out of prison by getting Oscar and then shaving his head.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's so set up. It's like the character of Oscar. It almost feels like the character of Oscar was created for that joke at the end.
Well, it does feel that way because he does just kind of pop. They never make any comment.
They mention he has a brother at one point, and that's about it.
Yeah, they never say it's a twin brother.
And why can't George Sr. have money and hair and Oscar have nothing? But anyway, the point is that when he shaves Oscar's head and switches places on that's a really funny way for him to get it. But then with busting out Buster, it's just okay, this is only. They do the what is it 19 the silent movie shtick with it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And then that's barely funny, but
it's also so weird because it's one of their end jokes. The big final jokes of the season, the closet exchange and the prison break.
Yeah,
are so underwhelming.
Yeah,
it's so
that's true.
They're not even the funniest points of the season.
They're not even the funniest points of those episodes.
No,
but when that's happening, you're painfully aware that if you didn't do it like this, it wouldn't even be funny.
Yeah,
literally all that happens is Oscar goes through the parade, runs up, pushes a guy down or something.
Stan Sitwell.
Yeah, pushes Stan Sitwell, gets Oscar out, and they just run away. It's not.
Yeah. Well, and it feels like they're loosely trying to keep this Lucille 2 mystery afloat, and then Sally Sitwell's like kind of involved, but not really involved, and she's kind of there, and she's not. I don't know.
Yeah. And you don't really give a shit because the rest of the show's not entertaining enough to make you care.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like maybe the second half of the season will
pick up,
bring it all together. But the 8 episodes that we got really just feel like, we're trying to undo what no one liked about season 4. Also trying to reconcile what we can no longer continue from season 4. But they also don't know how to make the show good again.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
especially the first few episodes, they genuinely just feel like cleanup.
The first few, that's all they are.
Like if you're listening to this, I would say go ahead and watch this season, but know that getting through the first few episodes is a task.
Yeah, it feels just like season 4, but without the gimmick, because all the characters are still separated.
That's right. Yeah,
but but none of them are really showcased. I don't know. It was a fucking nightmare watching those first few episodes.
Yeah, Kemp?
I liked it. I liked it.
You're a monster.
What? I liked it.
Mikey.
It had its problems, but it was still
you couldn't
enjoyable.
see the goddamn green screen shit. Get your eyes checked. Even though you wear glasses, you need better...
I do.
Good lord. Anyway. Yeah.
Blind fuck.
Whatever. Watch it. Don't watch it. I don't give a fuck.
It was good. Watch it.
You might as well. It's not the worst.
You might as well. It goes by really quick.
Yeah,
especially
I watched
once
it
you
in
get
2
through
days.
those first few episodes.
This is such a lackluster.
It's like a root canal. It's not going to be as bad as everyone tells you it's going to be.
But it's worth it.
And afterwards you're like, well, there we go. Now I know what that's like.
WolfPunch.